One of the things I looked forward to when Iris went to school was making mom friends. I think that we all crave that connection of someone who's going through similar circumstances at the same time. And I've been fortunate to make some really good friends, some really interesting women, and one of whom I'm really excited to introduce to you guys today, and that's Mallory Schultz. So, Mallory is the founder and creative director of House of Mal, a luxury event planning and design studio. If you follow her on Instagram at House of Mal, you will be totally inspired. I always want to be at every event that she's throwing. You should have seen her son's birthday party. It was fabulous. Before she launched her company, though, she was an editor at Condé Nast, and she worked for Bon Appetit and Self, and she worked for none other than the queen of all things entertaining, Martha Stewart. I just love her, and I'm so excited to welcome you, Mallory, to All on the Table. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. That was like the nicest introduction. It's wild when you hear someone read your career back to you and you're like, I did do those things.
Right?
Yeah,
I know.
really nice.
It's kind of, I think that we are all guilty of having those moments where we're like, oh, I haven't done anything with my life. I need to do more. I need to do more. And then when you really look at it on paper or you hear somebody else say it, it's like, oh, yeah.
Well, especially, I mean, you said we're mom friends. I feel like, which has been the best friendship. And we do talk all the time. And we have so many similarities going on with our kids. And then to have an additional layer of like an interest in food and a professional life in food and entertaining has been great. So
Right. We found that we had a lot in common.
Yeah.
And our husbands like each other too.
Which literally
never happens. Like to get to have all four enjoy each other and our kids enjoy each other.
It's been great.
It's really nice. That's what I was looking for. I think like
we found it right at the last year though.
Exactly.
We should have really connected the dots when the kids were babies.
When we first started nursery school, I think it was like hard to meet people and stuff. And then it was last year in their class, we found each other and then became friends. And last summer in the Hamptons, we really had a great summer.
I agree. That was our moment.
Mm-hmm.
We really melded on all things, food, entertaining, and everything in between.
Yes. And I think so often when the moms get together, we're talking about our kids and we're talking about planning different things and mom life, all that sometimes we forget to talk about each other and talk about our interests and talk about what we're doing in our careers. So it's nice right now to have this time together to sit and actually talk about you.
Yeah, I love talking about me. So dive right in.
Let's do it. So I want to know how you made the pivot to start House of Mal.
It's interesting. People ask me that all the time. How did I pivot from being a magazine editor to a full service event planner? And I always say I really didn't pivot. I really just changed mediums. When you are working in magazines, you're really focused on beautiful editorial and creating a beautiful editorial direction. You're focused on pacing because a magazine, whether it's a physical magazine or a digital magazine, you're not just, being hit over the head with an article. You want to turn the page and have that experience of seeing something unfold. And then you also just want to see something like beautifully laid out for you in a logical way that makes sense. Event planning requires all of the same skill set. It's just happening in 3D. And so it's been great to really transition into this medium where I'm using the same editorial eye from a visual storytelling, let me say that whole thing again, but I'm using the same editorial eye from a visual storytelling perspective and also just bringing events to life right in front of you.
Yeah, now that you say that, that makes so much sense because your events do look like an editorial spread.
Thanks.
It's like you get to be inside of a magazine shoot. That was what I always loved about I miss magazines.
I miss magazines so much.
I know that there's still magazines around, but like the heyday of magazines, when you'd go to the airport and you'd buy a stack of 10 magazines to take on an airplane and sit there and flip through them and tear out the pages that inspired you.
It was the best. And it was really, what I really loved about that time working at Condé Nast and also working for Martha, it was a really collaborative experience, but you were working with intensely creative, really driven people who were also really focused on getting a product out. And that's something that pulse of keeping you going is exactly what I have in events and something that personally, like, really, I don't know Did you ever work in restaurants? You don't work in
I
restaurants.
did in college, but then not later in life.
If you've ever worked in a restaurant or if you've ever performed in a show or anything that has that moment where it's like, okay, it's go time and we need to be on, that's something that for me personally has always really driven me. I love the feeling of like the house lights go down, the stage lights go up, and you are on. And what I liked about the transitions from magazines into events is all of a sudden, it's not to say that the stakes in magazines weren't high, but all of a sudden everything just got raised a little, like the hairs in the back of your neck come up, you're sweating a little bit more, and it's like, it's now or never. We got to go. And there's no changes. There's no dress rehearsal. Like you're just on. And I think I love that. But I know this started because you said you miss magazines. I really do too.
I think that listening to you talk, it sounds like when you have a party, it's like live television.
It's
Like you only get one chance.
totally like that.
And it's like that anticipation of right before you go live of anything could happen and you got to roll with it. It's the same thing with a party.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you are out there and I also think having a party as a host, you feel like you're really putting yourself out there. It's an opportunity for you to say to your friends or loved ones, this is who I am and this is where I'm at in my life. And I want to showcase that by welcoming you all into my home, my venue, wherever you are. And it's exciting. And it's also kind of nerve-wracking. I mean, I would say I've never hosted a party or worked for a client on a party where I don't feel like I'm going to throw up every day.
Yeah, there's a certain pressure to having a party.
Yeah.
And for me, it always starts with worrying that nobody's going to come.
Oh my God, I thought I was the only one who felt that way. I still feel that way for my clients. I was, one of my recent events was like a 200 person plus wedding. And I'm looking at the guest list. And I mean, I'm the one often who's like arranging the escort cards, setting up the menus with people's names individually printed. And I'm thinking to myself, gosh, I hope people show up for this thing. Like,
have you ever had a party where it's
No.
mostly no's?
No,
Yeah.
never,
No,
never,
like,
ever, ever.
Pretty much never. Like,
But that feeling never goes away.
when I send out the paperless post and the RSVPs start coming through, I'm like, oh, thank God we got a party. Only once did I have a party that no one came.
I
And
mean,
so it was Halloween. This was ages ago, and I lived in the village, and I invited a bunch of friends over because I thought, oh, Halloween in the village, like it's going to be so fun. And we all like maybe 5 people came.
that's so sad.
What happened was because, they closed 6th Avenue
Oh,
because of the parade. And so people couldn't get across to come. And so it was like the 5 of us like sat around in our costumes.
I was going to say, can you set the stage a little more? Were you fully in costume?
Fully in costume. I dressed as a one-night stand. So I had on a men's white shirt, high heels, messed up makeup, messed up hair.
Like of all the
diamond
costumes
necklace.
you could have been
Yes.
to.
Yes. And 2 of my friends were in full face paint. It was like the most ridiculous. And I also thought I would get a ton of trick-or-treaters. We had like 5 trick-or-treaters for some reason. It was so whenever like those 2 friends or some of my best friends will say that we're having a party and we're like, it better not be like Halloween.
That one lonesome Halloween.
So now I always invite so many people.
Yeah.
As you know, you were at my Christmas party and it
It
was
was great.
jam-packed with people because I'm so afraid to have Halloween happen again.
That's so funny. I just thought you had a lot of friends.
Well, I invited everyone I knew, basically.
Yeah, of course.
No, it was
I mean, you never
a lot of friends. No, it was that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm always terrified that I'm going to have another Halloween. What do you think are like some of the other fears? Like what makes you get those butterflies in your stomach?
I am definitely, I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm always worried about this. I'm always planning against this, especially if you're entertaining in your own home. People run out of ice every single time.
Yes.
You always need more ice. It sounds like such a simple thing, but you have to consider that people aren't just using ice for their cocktails. They're also using it for their water. You're putting drinks in it. Also, ice melts, guys. Like,
right.
It's going to disappear.
Right.
So if you don't live in the city where you can run out to a bodega, just get twice as much as you think literally twice as much as you think you need. running short on food almost never happens because, for better or worse, people just aren't eating hors d'oeuvres and appetizers at parties.
They really don't eat as much as you think they're going to. And especially now that everyone's on a GLP-1, like no one's eating.
No one's eating at all.
No.
I mean, you still need them. I have a lot of clients now will say to me, well, I really don't like past hors d'oeuvres, so I just want to have stations. Don't do that. People like seeing something passed around the room.
Have a past hors d'oeuvre.
It also really helps with pacing the event. The timing of your cocktail hour is directly correlated to how many things you have going around the room. And it sounds kind of funny to think that, like, well, if you only have 3 things going around the room, you need a shorter cocktail hour. But you do, because at a certain point, your guests are going to be standing around just bored.
Yeah.
And they're like, I saw that tuna taco 5 times already.
Exactly.
I want to do something else. And then I think people just also worry about, like, just the evening generally falling flat. And that's something that, we can talk more about. Like, you really can plan for that, and you
What
really
makes
should.
it fall flat?
A lot of things. And also the biggest thing that will make an evening fall flat is just not planning. The whole reason that my industry exists is because good parties have plans. You really want to think about the fact that you have put all this. I mean, it's exactly what you say. You send that paperless post out and you feel so naked because it's like, do you like me? Will you come here? No, and it's funny. You talked about my son's birthday. The kids' parties are almost the most stressful because you just want to make sure that you're being the mom and the parent and the everything that you wish you were. But as soon as your guest list starts to shape up, you want to think about what's going to give your party momentum and give it a pulse to make sure that people are going to have a good time. That is true whether you're having like a milestone birthday party, a big 40th, 35th, 50th, whatever. It is definitely true at a wedding. But even for something as small as a dinner party, every party is going to have a natural cadence and flow. And you want to plan for those moments when things start to dip. So for me, I think if you have more than 4 guests at your house, it's a party, you want to make sure that you take a moment to just stop everything and set at whatever. I mean, I would say if you have, your party usually starts to dip in energy around like 60 minutes, sometimes 90 minutes. And you can just take a moment to say like, hi, thank you for coming. I either will now be seated for dinner or we're now going to do X, but just a moment to acknowledge the fact that like your friends stopped what they were doing. They got out of their house. I know, because we've talked about this. There have been times when both of us are like, I don't want to go to that party.
Yes.
I don't want to go to that
absolutely.
person's house. But like they did. And so it's not just that it's nerve-wracking for you as the person hosting, but it's also like people are taking time out of their lives and out of their schedules. They're hiring babysitters and they're going somewhere. So just make sure to acknowledge them. And then I think also really putting together a tight timeline is going to keep your party from falling flat.
I agree. Like a very long cocktail hour to me is just kiss of death. You're bored by the time you sit down for dinner then. And that's hard to recover.
It's really hard to recover.
So what's your ideal? Let's say it's like an 8 to 10 person dinner party. Like what do you think the pace should be?
Okay. So first of all, and like I don't like to say this because obviously I think everyone should follow House of Mal and also hire me for their amazing, phenomenal milestone
Naturally.
occasions, weddings, and everything in between. But I love an 8 to 10 person dinner party more than anything. And that's because, and I can always bring this back to having an editorial eye. I think you can make an event like that feel really, really personal and really intimate, but still kind of dramatic. And like, especially, I know we talked about the Hamptons, especially in the summertime, I love to set a relatively over the top table, even if it's for 6 friends, 8 friends, because people feel like, oh, you really thought about me and you really wanted to make this night feel special for me as your guest. Although I will say if you only have 6 guests coming over and you set this phenomenal table and then one of them cancels, it's like soul crushing.
Like, how dare you?
It's so awful. And you still have to take all the pictures to make it look like everyone was eating. A 5-person table is very unbalanced. But if I'm having 10 guests or 10 guests, 5 couples, something like that, I would say that dinner parties really happen in 3 acts. So, and ideally in 3 locations. And what I mean by that is you want your guests to arrive and they should have a drink. It can be, a specialty cocktail, wine, water, whatever, within their hands within like 30 seconds to a minute. Really, the second someone walks in the door, because they're not going to want to know what to do. And especially if you're inviting people into your own home, people feel very awkward walking into someone else's house, even if they're your best friend, because they know that you put the effort in. So they should have a drink in their hand immediately. And then you can have cocktails for, I would say, the fewer the guests, the shorter the cocktail hour, 20 to 30 minutes tops. Then you'll move to another space to sit for dinner, which is, if it's a coursed plated dinner or even family style, it's probably an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then in an ideal world, I know this doesn't always happen in our Manhattan apartments, but in an ideal world, you'll move again to a living room space or a backyard or somewhere for your third and final act of the dinner. And the reason why I say that is like, that really has an intentional flow where you're starting in one. And by the way, if you're in an apartment and you're having cocktails in your living room, going to sit somewhere for dinner and then going back, it's the same idea.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it's still the worst thing is when you have a dinner party and then everyone's just sitting around the table.
I totally agree. Like, to get up to have dessert somewhere else, I think makes a really big difference in the energy.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're sitting there at that table just deadly dull by the end of it. Your butt starts to hurt.
And you're
Like-
just like, I've eaten all this food. I've talked to the person next to me
Yes.
for an hour and a half at this point. I know where they're going on vacation. I know what their kids are doing.
Mhm.
And so you want a time to get up. I also think, and this is less about timeline, but more about momentum. And maybe this is just, again, I'm thinking like on an editorial content calendar. It's never a bad idea for whether you're hosting the party alone or if it's you and your spouse. Think about what you're going to talk to your guests about in advance and have topics ready to go and think about like what people are interested in and how you want to engage them, because 8 to 10 people is still a really small party and it's a great opportunity for people to have one conversation. We've all been to those parties where, like, I was at a party recently where they split us up, husbands and wives. We don't want to do that.
You know, Ryan really gets upset when he
So
gets
does Stuart.
split.
This is why
Yeah.
they like each other so
I know.
much.
He's like, I don't want to sit next to somebody else. I feel secure next to you.
Yeah.
And I know some people are like, you have to split up couples. I don't think you do.
Well, I get asked that question all the time.
So what's your opinion?
No, I want to sit next to my husband.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And I think if it makes your guests comfortable, then ultimately you're going to have a better conversation.
I also think we're so far past you have to split up couples, you have to seat men next to women and things like that is so dated at this point. I think
so too.
in, the best of all worlds, you're seating people next to each other who are actually going to want to talk to each other, because the worst thing is when you know that you've been the plant because you are the good talker and you're the one who's like
Oh, yeah.
there to make conversation for other people.
I've been that person before.
I'm sure
At
you're a good
a
talker.
dinner party, and I get seated next to somebody really boring. And by the end of the meal, I'm like, please, can we get up for dessert?
Of course.
Because
But that, I
miserable.
think that's why I think it's really nice to just keep, and it's funny. I always say dinner parties happen in 3 acts, and kids parties on the flip side are a 3-ring circus. You want to have 3 things going on at one time.
Oh,
But if you
yeah.
think about it, it's really the same thing, just different, executed differently, which is like guests love, and guests love this, and the most successful parties happen when you are really holding someone's hand and guiding them through the experience. And it's not just because like I'm a control freak and want to tell people what to do. I mean, I am. But it's because people are they're coming into your space, whether it's your home or your party, and they don't know what you want from them. They just want to, like, most people want to be good guests and they want to have a great time. And if you, as a host, have spent so much time thinking about what you want to have happen and how you want the night to go and how you want the night to feel, and then you open your front door and you welcome guests in and you're like, okay. It's just not, things immediately fall very flat and people feel really inconsidered and they really don't know what they're supposed to do. So when cocktails are over and it's time to go for dinner, you can say to your guests, we will now be going to have dinner. When food is brought to the table, tell people what they're eating. Obviously, if you're at a more formal event, there's usually a menu explaining that, but there's a reason why all of these structures exist. And it's not just for formality. I think it also makes people much more comfortable. And that's going to lend itself to a better guest experience overall.
On that note, do you like place cards?
Love.
I'm a place card
Place
fan
cards.
too.
I mean, I knew you would be because I think you appreciate a certain level of formality, but it's place cards do not exist for formality. We have all been guests at people's homes where you walk to a dinner table and there's 8 to 12 people and you're just standing around and saying, you know, where would you like me? Where should I sit? And then we know what the dreaded response is. Sit anywhere.
Right.
And like, I don't want to sit anywhere. In event planning, we talk about guest experience all the time. And what that really boils down to is just thinking about people and thinking about not only how the host will have a great time, but how the guests will experience the night in a way that makes it successful for everyone. I think that same feeling can be applied to a really small dinner party. So just think about your guests. They're coming over. Tell them where to sit. They'll be happy to.
How do you tell them what to wear?
Oh, that's a good question.
People always say, how should I dress?
I think at this point in this era that we live in, where everyone is on social and studying outfits and getting advice from every different medium, I think you can be really specific and tell people like, tonight is casual and that means I will be in jeans. Like if I tell someone that something is casual, I will be in jeans. I will not be in silk pants and, like a amazing something. And I say that because I think that if you are going to host people, you should really be specific. I think dress codes are amazing. People love, whether it's to get into theme or just to know what to do. I think people like that. But I think you should be really specific. One thing I do not like is I do not like when you invite people over and you don't tell them that they have to remove their shoes.
Oh, you have to tell that in advance.
I think you must.
That's such
tell
a good
them.
point.
Like, let's be honest. My shoes are easily 50% of my outfit.
Absolutely. And what if you have socks on with a hole in the bottom or something?
Well, first of all, you should get that fixed.
Ryan always makes fun of me. For some reason, I don't know what I do to my socks.
What do
I
you
get
mean?
holes in my socks constantly.
How?
I
guess you don't know.
I must like walk really hard on the bottom of my feet or something. So I'm always having like a random hole and having to throw socks away.
Yeah, but at this point, you can buy high quality cashmere socks on Amazon. Like you can buy them anywhere. So, but yes, you should tell people so they don't have holes. But it's also like, first of all, in New York City or even in a suburb or anywhere, I think if you're invited to someone's home for dinner, and I have a no shoe policy in my house. But when I'm inviting guests over, it's highly unlikely that they've been trudging through the snow and dirt and mud to come over and sit inside my home. They're probably wearing shoes that have been outside occasionally. Just let them keep their shoes on.
Yeah, I'm a shoe-free house too, but if I have people over for a dinner or if it's like a couple of friends just hanging out, we'll take shoes off.
Totally.
But if it's friends coming for a party or a dinner, shoes are on. And like when I have my big Christmas party, I always book a carpet cleaner for the day after. And I get my rug cleaned because I know everybody's been on it with, 40 people with their shoes on, whatever. And I get my rug cleaned. It needs to be cleaned once a year anyway.
Exactly. And I just think that we've all seen that Sex in the City where they had to take their shoes off.
Yes.
But it's like, it feels so demoralizing to go to someone's house and you've spent this time to put a really chic outfit together and they're like, shoes at the door, please.
And
then all of a sudden you get 4 inches shorter. And it's so
and you're in pantyhose and you don't have shoes on.
Yeah.
And it feels weird.
Also, I feel like as a parent, all entertaining with children happens in our socks. The number of times that I'm hanging out with other parents in my socks at a kid gym or wherever. So as an adult, I want to wear shoes. And I just think it should be a mandate that when you are inviting people to your home, just let them leave their shoes on.
And if you are particularly anal about it and you really want people to be without shoes, then you should purchase some cute little slippers for everybody to wear.
So I did that recently for a client.
Mm-hmm.
They were having 17 people for dinner, which is an odd number to begin with because it's neither huge nor small. We purchased hotel slippers and got them embroidered with their initials. And it was cute. It's not I don't think you have to go as far as that, but it's a really nice touch. And it also just makes people feel like they're not walking around in their
Right. And
stockings.
even still, I'd rather just let the people wear their shoes.
I agree.
Like let every woman feel really good about herself in her heels.
I agree. It's also like, oh, you put the whole outfit together, you get there, you have to take it off.
Yeah. What are your other little pet peeves?
Okay. Shoes for sure. I know we've talked about this, but I don't like paper napkins
Hate paper napkins.
And that also extends to plastic cups and paper plates.
I don't like it either. I don't like all the like crumbled up napkins everywhere.
A paper cocktail napkin, I think, to party size dependent, I'm totally fine with. I agree. I would love a linen napkin
But
at all
and
times.
I guess kids' parties are different too.
Yes. And also, if you are having, I always call these milestone celebrations, a huge 40th, a huge 50th, those parties can tend to have, I don't know, 100+ guests, but they may not, while they require the same planning and precision as a wedding, they may not have the same formality. They also may not have the same budget. And you want to have something like a custom cocktail napkin. There's really high quality paper out there now that feels great. But when we're talking about a party like that, we also have bussers and staff that's going around and cleaning up all the little clutter that you're talking about. In your own home,
if you're having 8 people for dinner, get on Amazon and buy some inexpensive linen napkins. It makes a world of difference.
And they'll look beautiful and you'll have them forever. So I really would implore people to get nice napkins. And as I said, that extends to glassware and flatware and plates and all of that too. There are so many amazing, affordable, cool brands out there now that have unique stuff or not unique stuff. You can also go to big box stores and buy some beautiful things and put them right in the dishwasher at the end of the night. But it just makes the party look and feel really nice. Another thing that really I can't say enough, just kills me. When you host people, especially for a dinner party, I think a lot of people forget that dinner is only half of what you're doing, and you still have to have the party. So not only do you need to consider the timeline, but like be ready. In the event industry, we would call it being room ready. You'll always, for a wedding or a big party, you'll be room ready anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour in advance. If you're hosting guests, people will get there early. They don't want to see you lighting candles. They really don't want to see you like try to figure out what your Sonos password is so you can start turning the music on and setting the vibe. Like, you're having a party. You've invited people, put your game face on and like make it a vibe.
Absolutely.
But I think that's always kind of what irks me when you arrive at someone's house and they're only halfway done because, I got my act together to get there. You should be ready to go.
Do you have a party checklist when you start planning? Like, what are your steps?
Yes. And I think, obviously it's different if I'm working with a client than if I'm doing it for myself. But a party always starts with a guest list. You need to know how many people you're having and what the overall scope of your event is. And then from there, I would break it down into what's really the point of view of the party. And that doesn't necessarily need to be a theme as much as it can be, a feeling. It can be an idea. Like, what do you want to leave the night understanding happened? If it's a wedding, it's not just like, oh, it was romantic, it was beautiful, but it was whatever you want that feeling to be. And then I think you also have to be incredibly tactical, making sure you have enough, everything that you need for however many guests you're having. And then also plan for those moments that you think don't need any planning. Think about when there'll be lulls in the night and when, you need to make sure that everyone is just has something to do the whole time.
How can people give their party like that professional touch?
I think, I know I keep saying this, but I think the best thing you can do when you are hosting people is you send your invites out, you have that naked moment, you're all nervous. Oh my God, are people going to come? Okay, so they're finally coming. Think about cohesiveness and then think about timeline. Okay, so like, what do I mean by that? When you hire an event planner, obviously we manage a million different things, but one of the reasons that you hire a professional is because they're going to design a night that feels like every detail has been considered. So if you are inviting friends over for dinner and you know exactly what you're going to cook, Like a lot of people, I think, go into dinner parties saying, what am I going to cook? But the cooking is like one little part of it. What are you going to put on the table? What are you going to listen to that night? What does your lighting look like? And like, does everything feel like it went with each other? Are you serving only, I mean, you can speak to this, like in the wintertime, are you serving only brown food on the plate? A lot of times we are. But if you're serving brown food on the plate, what do your florals look like so that they're going to bring some color into the night that complements the brown food, that complements your red wine? Can you add color into the table with glassware? Can you play music that maybe feels a little more uppity than like something that doesn't? And I think when you start to piece together all of those little things, it starts to feel like much more cohesive.
It's like putting a puzzle together.
Exactly. And I think that's what planners really do when we start to design a whole event, whether you have a wedding, suite that starts with your invitation, and the invitation feels like it looks very similar to your menu and your program and everything like that. That also feels like, it goes like you would never have a boho bride with a black tie invitation suite with something that felt like it belonged at a club party in Miami. Like those things just wouldn't go together. So when you're entertaining in your own home, I think you can take the same approach and try to bring a cohesive aesthetic into everything. I also think if you want things to feel more elevated, get out there and see what exists in the world beyond white plates. I have friends who ask me this all the time. They're like, well, I want to design a really beautiful table, and they'll focus on the flowers that go in the middle, and flowers are great. But like, again, they're one part of it. And so it's not just, I know I keep going back to magazines. In a magazine, you're not just thinking about one article, you're thinking about the full spread. How is everything relating to everything else? So what else is out there? Where can you bring in color and attitude and feeling? And how can you?
I really like what you said about thinking about the food on the plate and the flowers. Like that's something I haven't thought about, because when I design a menu for a party, I do think about having some color on the plate, because I think it's so visually unsatisfying when it is just brown food on a plate. Like
it really is.
Even if it's just a green salad, or if it's a garnish of some minced chives to add just some sort of little pop. But you also think about how to tie that in with the flowers. Like if it is like a lackluster beauty plate, to dress it up with the flowers, the glasses. I am usually going white plate because I think about like, what's the food look like on the plate?
Any food person, this is what happens. The food people always want to kill me. The chefs are always like, we're going to have the white plate. And I'm just like,
but then
nice
you got to
rim at least.
Dress it all up then.
It's funny. A good friend of mine runs a really gorgeous fashion catering house. And we always talk about how the pomegranate lobby really must have come in hard like a decade ago, because those pomegranates were on everythate.
Pomegranate seeds on everything.
Yeah, but we know that the reason they were on everything, I mean, they're fine. But like, is anyone ever clamoring for a pomegranate aerial? I can't even
really
say it.
Pretty.
No, but it looks beautiful. And I think that we've moved beyond the pomegranate, the dried cranberries. It was the 80s, the sun-dried tomato. But it's like there's a reason.
Microgreens.
Oh, God. I don't even know how to eat microgreens. I don't want to see them on a menu anymore. But I think it exists for a little beauty. If you're going to have your white plate, fine. Here's what I would say. If you're going to have your white plate, let's add in a really beautiful, it can be a salad plate or a side. Sometimes you can use it as a side plate, a beautiful salad plate that is bare when guests arrive, sitting on top of the white plate.
I like that.
That you can then clear after, but just so that when they arrive on the table, it looks
or a
really
charger
pretty.
Or something.
I mean, a charger is great, but then you don't always see it. But I love a charger.
I love the way all the fancy plates look, but then I want the white plate for the food.
So just have it there and then remove it. Completely useless thing.
Yeah, completely. Just add another layer. Ryan will be like, oh, good. One more thing to store somewhere. He thinks I have an addiction to glassware. Well, like I buy glasses constantly. Like I love colored glasses.
Me too.
Everything.
What brands do you love?
Actually, like a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Like if I'm in some random store, I'll just buy glasses. I got a set years ago of these amber colored Hermes glasses that are so pretty. I hardly ever use them though because they're Hermes and I'm afraid
Yeah.
something will happen to them. So it's like you have to make yourself use your nice stuff too. I actually use my china a lot.
But you hand wash it.
I have a set of Hermes china and I hand wash it and I love it. It's white, but it has a pretty rim around it.
Their stuff is predominantly white, but I'm sure it has a beautiful rim.
Yeah, it has a little rim. All right, let's get to the juicy stuff. I want to know what it was like to work for Martha.
The best.
Yeah?
The best. I mean, that was a really different time in magazines in general. Right now, I think, as we've said, there are really few print magazines that exist at all. When I was at Martha, it was during a time of transition in the late early 2000s. So I guess the early teens, when things were going heavily digital. And so some days you'd come to work and there would be 200 people working in a magazine, and then you'd come the next day and there were like 6. But what that meant was everyone was always really scrappy, and being at Martha, everyone is scrappy and these were the most creative, warmest love. Like I loved everything about being there. My favorite experience that ever happened when I was there, which was also probably the scariest thing that ever happened, was Martha was filming an episode of the Today Show. And the longest role I held there was as the senior editor of Everyday Food, which was I don't know if you ever looked at that
loved
magazine.
Everyday Food. I subscribed. I loved that magazine.
You know, Everyday Food is like the opposite of the world that I'm in now, but it was really a magazine that was useful for
extremely
everyone. Our recipes were simple. I always say, like, I think I really learned how to cook at Martha and through that magazine, because we were making things, and in the recipe testing process, it wasn't, a 12-hour braise and a 6-tiered wedding cake. It was like chicken piccata. I had never made chicken piccata before. I learned how to make it. Anyway, so my favorite experience there was, and I was in and out of the test kitchen, was one day Martha had an appearance on the Today Show. And this was really peak heyday of the Today Show. And she was making blueberry muffins, and she was not satisfied with the recipe that the test kitchen had put together for her muffins. And the way that magazines worked in those days, where we had a huge central kitchen where all the recipes for the magazines would be developed. And then all of our desks were right outside of there and flanked the kitchen. And Martha came back from her taping at the Today Show, and it was pretty early because, I guess that happens in the morning. And it was probably like 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. And she called in everybody who worked in Everyday Food into the test kitchen and said, "I will not stand for these blueberry muffins that I had to make with Matt Lauer." And she was so angry, but then showed all of us how to make her version of a perfect blueberry muffin. And we all had to spend the rest of the day working on those muffins. And at that point, I was in my mid-20s as a young woman, a future entrepreneur, just like a responsible adult. I had never been so inspired in my life, because she was saying, guys, this is not my name. This is not my brand. And I don't stand for this. So I'm going to show you what I expect. And then I expect you to show me how to do it. And we did. And it was like, I can now look back on that story that happened almost 10 years ago. And it's funny, at the time it was terrifying.
Oh, I bet.
And it felt like I was going to get chopped. Like, I was just like, if my muffins aren't good, I'm going to get booted out of here. I didn't even work on recipe development. I don't know why I was there. I think I just wanted to see what she was doing. It's also when I learned never to just roam into the test kitchen. But it was a really great experience. And it's one that, like, I think not only do I tell young girls all the time, but I try to tell myself all the time, if you're going to put your name on something and put it out there into the world, you should be so proud of it. And you should make sure that anyone who's going to use your name for anything can make you feel proud of the work that's going out there.
And that's why Martha is Martha. She's the queen.
She's the queen. She's good at everything.
Yes.
She knows everything. And that was the other thing that I really took away from being there. I think that everybody who worked at Martha took real pride in in really doing the work. Like it was never, now I think we really live in an era of like your best hacks and your best hot tips and what are the shortcuts. And it's not to say that those aren't awesome. Like I love a hack and I love a shortcut, but Martha Stewart does not take those. And being at that publication and being at that office, like people were not looking for shortcuts. They were very proud of the work that they did. And they were really willing to do the work if it meant getting the best product. So it really was not about like cutting out the unimportant. It was about the final result and doing whatever you had to do to get there.
It reminds me, my grandma would always say, if you're going to do something, don't half-ass it. It's like Martha's never half-assing.
Yeah.
Like, everything is do it all the way and do it the right way.
And I think about that all the time now. I mean, people say to me all the time, like, well, what's the easiest way, to make a room look perfect? And it's like, clean it up. That, I don't have a hack for that. Just like put your stuff away.
Yeah.
Clean everything up. Make it look like you tried. There's, I think Martha also is never embarrassed to be herself. And what herself is a total perfectionist and a person who's really committed to operating at an exceptionally high level. The other thing about that muffin story is I think she knows how much she is capable of. And that's something that I always try to do. Obviously, no one can compare to her. But like, if you're always looking for other people, whether it's in your industry or in any field, to just get the final 10% done for you, I don't think the end result is the same. And I don't know, maybe this is why I'm such a control freak and I went into this industry in the first place. I believe I'm the only one who can really finish the job.
Well, I think that when you're an entrepreneur and you own your own company and you found something and you have a unique perspective as to how you want things to be, it's okay to tell your employees that. It's okay to demonstrate to people, like to demonstrate how you want the muffins made. Like I think of her in the documentary when she shows how the right way to cut the orange.
That's so good.
Yes, I was like, yeah, you shouldn't use the chef's knife to cut the orange. You should use the paring knife.
Right.
Maybe there was a nicer way of saying it, but in the end,
was she showing how to do a supreme? I don't remember.
Yeah, somebody was using a big knife and she was like, why are you using that knife? Use a smaller one. In the end, she did them a favor by teaching them how to do it the right way.
Right. And
same with the muffins.
And it's like having, now that everyone has like their own social platform, it's a great way to impart whatever like wisdom to the world you want to share. Martha was so amazing at teaching everyone how to do everything. I feel like I strive to do that every day. Like I'm like, I have learned this wisdom. I have my own wisdom now. I want to put it out into the universe and say like, no, just do it this way. And by the way, well, I will say, I think Martha always believes that her way is the only way. I don't know that I feel as stridently about that, but it was a cool place. And it was also, sometimes it kind of felt like a Willy Wonka's haven of creativity, because like there was a whole room just for crafting. I don't even know what they did in there. And I worked at that magazine for years, but it was like they were creating things that would eventually go in special projects, issues of magazines. But I just met the most creative, really interesting people there.
I loved all those magazines. I would look forward to every month getting my Martha Stewart magazine and sit there and go page by page through it. I'd have a cookie and a cup of tea. And
she could really throw down on Halloween. The two of you guys could.
My Halloween party could have definitely benefited from some Martha magic. That's for sure.
And it was funny too, because I worked at Martha in between years spent at Condé Nast, and Condé Nast was the opposite of being there. I loved being there as well, but it was a much more, it had that Devil Wears Prada, How to Lose a Guy quality, where you dressed for the brand that you worked for. So you always fit into this mold of Bon App or Glamour or Self or any of those, or Vogue or any of those magazines that you were at. And I think it also, things felt very serious there in a way that at MSLO, it's not that they didn't feel serious, but I think everyone was really working on the same team. I love it.
So it wasn't like I envisioned the Martha magazine scene to be like when she walked in, that it was like Miranda Priestley walking in. Was that not how it was?
I think Condé Nast has much more, or had much more of that energy. It was also such a different time, and I was like 25. So I think if I saw her walking in the halls, I was just like, oh, cool, she's here today.
Smart stuff.
Nice of you to show up. But no, it didn't feel as intimidating as that. I mean, she definitely had an air of authority, but
All right, let's do some food questions. I
Okay.
want to know, what's your breakfast?
you know what's so funny? I was thinking about that this morning because I've never talked to you about that. I don't eat breakfast at all.
Nothing at all.
I have, if I'm feeling virtuous, I have hot water with lemon, but that's like 20%
No
of the time.
coffee?
Black coffee.
Oh, okay.
So
Black
much.
coffee.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. You
Like a
are
vat.
hardcore.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
very, when people see me, they're like, you're very hardcore.
And when you say black coffee, I get it.
Yeah.
Does Stuart take black coffee?
No coffee.
No coffee.
I
He's that
know.
happy and nice without coffee.
He's a no coffee. And I always try to drop hints like, do you ever see those videos that are like, a good vacation husband brings the coffee to he doesn't do that. But he really doesn't do it, not because he doesn't care, because he doesn't know anything about coffee.
Mhm.
So I'm always like, I've seen these husbands bring their wives coffee. And he's like,
I would have pegged him as a light and sweet coffee, like to do a lot of half and
That
half
is
and
him.
sugar.
that is him as a person. But no, he's a zero coffee. I'm an all coffee.
All right, what is the party menu item you never want to see again?
You're not going to like this. Maybe like asabuco.
I was going to say, like, Ryan and I were laughing yesterday because I made braised short ribs.
I was going to say or braised short ribs.
I love braised short ribs at home, but every single event that you go to serves braised short ribs.
I also, I spent enough time writing stories on like how to take an outfit from day to night, how to take your party from 2 people to 10 people at the last minute. Let's be honest. No one's wearing I worked in magazines for over a decade. I never took my outfit from day to night. I went home, I changed, and then I went back out and I looked great because I was 25 and I had all the energy. For a menu, you're not going from 2 people to 10 people. If you're doing that, order a pizza. Like, don't do that. But I think, there's this element of like, you can make it ahead and set it and forget it. And I really think that not only are we more advanced in our culinary lexicon at this point, we're also more advanced in our kitchen tools. So like, no, I'm not preparing Dover sole a la minute for 20 guests, but there are a lot of things that you can make that just feel more exciting than a short rib or an osabuco or anything that's like slop on it. It's like adult sloppy joes.
I love that kind of food. Like, I love
Same.
it. But at an event with a lot of people, it just feels so tired.
I think those are also particular dishes where it's like, they're very cozy and comfy. Have it at home.
Yeah. What about like hors d'oeuvres?
I don't ever want to see a chicken lollipop. I love a pig in a blanket.
Love.
I'll put it on
never going away.
I know. Whoever thought that we'd all think that they were the chicest thing. I think that in the last 2 years, caviar has made its way onto a million menus. I really don't like the caviar bumps. I think I don't like anything about them.
The caviar bump to me is the grossest. Like, everybody's licking their hands.
I think it's gross. It's kind of like if you invite people for a black tie event and then you serve McDonald's. There's a time and a place for that. And you can have, a party that feels incongruous and a lot of fun. But black tie is an actual dress code that's saying we're here for formality, where men are in tuxedos, when women are in gowns. And I think caviar connotes this really elevated experience too. And I don't want to eat it off my own hand. I also feel like as a parent, the number one thing I say is get your fingers out of your mouth.
Yeah.
And then it's like everyone's doing the opposite.
I think it's gross.
Yeah, I think it's gross.
I'm like so over that. That is a trend that I hope just dies.
By the way, like I love seeing caviar on a menu. I just don't want to see it. I want to see it on a spoon. I want to see it on a blini. I don't want to see it on palms.
No, thank you.
Or hands.
Are you buffet or sit down?
Sit down always.
Mm-hmm.
Sit down, and if I can have if it's my choice, I would do sit down European or what's called French service, which means that a server is presenting you with a large platter or a plate of whatever that specific dish is, the protein, the vegetable, and then serving it to you tableside. My next choice after that would be a plated dinner with additional sides presented to the table. I think a buffet is for a lunch or, I mean, a really casual lunch or nothing. I don't like
Yeah,
buffets.
not at a wedding or anything like that.
Look, there are so many different ways to have a wedding and there are so many different budgets and styles. I think that something that's become popular in recent years is people don't want to have any formal seating at their event. So they'll have lots of lounge seating, some high top tables, and they really want their evening to unfold more like an endless cocktail party. So in an event like that, you might have stations all over the room and places for people to actually sit and eat their food and then go back to the dance floor or go back to another room. That can be really chic. It's sometimes very hard to execute. And I would say that if you're doing that, it's still not a buffet. You're still having really abundant stations with lots and lots of food on them. And if you have to have a buffet, my absolute number one rule would be never, ever, ever have someone announce that the buffet is now open. For two reasons. First of all, it's like a cattle call and you don't want that. But second of all, there's never been a buffet in history that is prepped for 100, 200 people and the right amount of food is there the whole time. They need to keep replenishing the food. Ideally, you'll have some servers there helping with the service. So in an ideal world, if you absolutely have to have a buffet at your formal event, you can have part of your service staff telling different tables like, will you please go up to the buffet now?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Table by table.
But it's really not.
It's not like people waiting in line forever either.
You never want a bottleneck at the buffet table or at the bar.
All right, good advice. What do you think the best wedding cake flavor combo is?
I'm a chocolate girl. I want just a chocolate cake. I mean, the truth is, by the end of a wedding, no one wants to eat that cake. Like, just no one's going to eat it.
I want to eat it.
I knew you were going to say, I'm going to eat the cake. But you're like one of 5 people that's going to eat it. I think the best wedding cake flavor, I think the best flavor for your wedding cake is the one that you and your spouse actually want to eat together because you're probably the only people who are going to taste it. And so at that point, and it may be the only thing that you've eaten all day, as much as I try to make sure that there are, hors d'oeuvres in the get ready suite or that a bride sits down to eat a meal. She almost never does.
Never eats.
So take a minute when you're ordering your cake or sitting with your planner and think about like, okay, what do I want to shove in my face when it's been 16 hours and I haven't eaten anything? And then that'll be it.
What's your favorite signature cocktail?
A spicy skinny margarita.
Ooh, yum. Love that.
I also think signature cocktails, people tend to go crazy on them. Have 1 or 2. That's all you need. Most people won't order them, but they are fun. And if you are going to have them, try to batch some and have them passed out. Because when you have just a cocktail menu at a bar, it's really unusual that guests order from that specialty cocktail menu. But if you have those specialty cocktails passed at the beginning of the event, people are more inclined to take them.
Now, looking ahead to summer, if it'll ever be summer in New York ever again, what are you looking forward to party-wise? What's the trend going to be?
I think entertaining in the Hamptons, especially where we both are in the summer, is huge. And people love to have people in their homes and they love to have people out and about. I mean, there's nothing that's not a big deal out there. I think every year these parties just level up. So whether it's a dinner party or a huge tented event in your backyard, I think they just keep getting bigger and bigger every year. This summer, as part of House of Mal, I am launching a tabletop rental service.
Ooh.
So it's exclusive to the Hamptons and you can rent tabletopware, plates, glasses, flatware, napkins, tablecloths in sets of 12. And you can order a fully designed tablescape or individual pieces. And the idea behind that is just as these parties continue to get more beautiful and more highly designed, this is a really easy way to not just serve food on white plates.
You know what is great about that though? So many people are in rental homes, so they don't have everything that you accumulate over the years
I
to,
think
to make it the way that you want it. So to be able to go and rent it all in one place.
I do. And I also, and this is not a knock to the amazing rental companies that are out there. Those companies are great, but they also have a very limited inventory of what you want to use in your own home because it's not a wedding. So I've spent a lot of time sourcing really unique pieces from all over the place and a lot of different websites and stores and put them together in a beautiful tablescape so that you can welcome guests over and then just order your pizza.
Well, I'll be your first customer because we're renting this summer while we build our house. So
Great.
I will definitely
Can't
need,
wait. It's all
I'll need
hand
something
delivered.
other than the white plates.
I know the next time I come over, it's gonna be stark white, a white
Everything.
linen, a white plate, a clear glass.
Everything white.
And you know what? It's gonna look beautiful.
Oh, all right. Tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at house.of.mal. You can find me on my website at houseofmal.com. And you can find me in New York City.
Yay. Love you, Mallory.
Love
Thanks
you
for
too.
coming.